Arceus Aggron VMAX. And of course, Adam Hawkins did come very close to getting through day one of World of Aggron VMAX last year. I wanted this deck, David. I wanted to see this deck.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's also cool to see, like we already mentioned here, that Pokemon World Championship is like the one tournament where people from Asian countries and regions, and the regions like Europe, Americas, and Australia, that they are actually meeting each other, because we have completely different point structures. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for people, for example, from Japan. Some do, but it doesn't really help them in point-wise
No.
if they're just trying to get their invitation. Sometimes they travel to regional championships, but this is not something we see often. So being able to feature those players, our only chance is basically the World Championship. Yeah, as we see Chia-Hsing with a very interesting Aggron V, Arceus V-Star box deck. There are a lot of interesting one-off Pokemon in this, and it looks like one of these decks where like you brainstorm like, oh, what is in the format, what do I expect the metagame to be, and then you just put a bunch of Pokemon that you think will be able to navigate through a specific metagame. And also you have very good options to outplay your opponent, because the moment you put that Aggron V on your bench, everyone will just be very confused. And this confusion you can use to your advantage, because the opponent will completely lose their game plan. They cannot rely on their testing. They have to rely on their skill in that moment, but they don't have all the information about your deck, right? So they will 100% do some mistakes.
That's one of the things I've always found. I'm a fan of playing weird decks, and there are sometimes if you play a weird deck against somebody, they will often make a tiny little mistake in the early game they have no idea they're making, but it gives you an opening, you know, in the mid to late game to really take advantage. They do something that they don't know they shouldn't be doing. They have no way of really knowing, and then you can come back because your deck is a bit more of a surprise and really take advantage of that. So yeah, when I saw this out there, when I did see the Sue's game ending in a tie, and I was like, oh, that means we probably won't be able to get them on stream next round. I am delighted that we have, and of course 2-0-1. These are among the top players in the tournament at the moment. So there's a long way to go. We've got 5 rounds from here, but they are still, you know, they're in good position, but you need to just kind of keep winning from here. And I just really, really, really want to come along and just be like, look, here is why you all should have been playing Aggron VMAX. I want to end this game sitting here going, why aren't more people playing Aggron VMAX?
Yeah, this is one of these decks where this will be either the last time we see about it, or we will see it quite often in the future. You can, oh yeah, and we have these foreign cards. They always look so interesting. As Akihiro put his price cards upside down. Nothing too terrible price for either player.
No, there is, David. He's priced free of his 4 Psychic Energy.
Oh,
3
true,
out of
yes.
4.
And you really need the Psychic Energy to attack with Giratina. Giratina, of course, needs... Wait, does it need 2?
It needs 1 Grass, 1 Psychic, 1 Colorless, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah, it is correct. Yep.
So he's only got 1 Psychic Energy in his entire deck. Now this is really, really, really interesting, because there is a scenario, and here we are off. What if he Flower Selects before he searches through his deck and gets rid of a Psychic Energy?
Yes.
We've seen things like this before, but Sue has the first turn. V-Guard Energy on an Arceus. We're off, David. I am legitimately excited for this game.
Yeah, Sue's list has so many, like, weird little things that we already saw a little bit of it today, but I don't think any of those players actually advanced today too. I think you mentioned yesterday there was a Urata player who also played like a very similar like Arceus V star deck with a lot of different smaller Pokemon. Yeah, not too much going on for Sue. I think usually you're kind of fine if you have just Arceus with an energy, and then next turn you can Starbirth, attach the double turbo energy, get some attacks going, charge up your board. As we see Akihiro, oh yeah, the first thing he's checking for are his energy cards.
Oh, he's going to be very disappointed.
But it's very nice that he checks, because something like you just said will not happen now that Akihiro is completely aware that he is playing this with only a single Psychic Energy card.
I mean, realistically, through the game, you probably don't need more than 2 Giratina. So you're playing 4 Psychic Energy. If none of them are prized, you can afford to loss zone 1 or 2 of them, and you'll probably still be okay. But if you know that there is only one Psychic Energy available in your deck, you need to do everything in your power to protect that Psychic Energy. But this is where it gets interesting, because there are going to be cards you desperately want. What if you really need a Chorus's Experiment, but your flower selecting is Chorus's Experiment and Psychic Energy? You now have to prioritize that, even if you means throwing away a card you really want to keep. So that is something you need to keep an eye on as Akihiro is navigating these first couple of turns.
Yeah, Akihiro opened his turn with just a Radiant Greninja, discarding a Grass Energy, not a Psychic Energy, for him, to get into a Battle VIP pass, to get 2 Comphase going. Worst case, you can still attach an energy active to Giratina and then attack with Abyss Seeking. But it's, of course, better to switch into Comfey, get some flower selecting online, and put more cards in the Lost Zone than you could just with Giratina's attack alone.
Yes. Yeah, agree entirely. You want to try and get all Super Odd. Now, that could be a relevant card. We do see Chorus's Experiment coming down. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. 3 go in your hand, 2 go into the Lost Zone.
Oh, this is a weird one. Oh, yeah. Iono and Boss are going to hit the discard pile. Yeah, the Jet Energy is a very nice addition to the Giratina deck especially.
Love it.
You don't need so many different basic energy cards, and you just need more energy cards in general, so you have the space to play these few Jet Energy cards, which allow you to attach it to a Comfey. That makes it the active Pokemon. Then you can use another flower selecting, and then you can still retreat. And we see Akihiro just trying to be aggressive, putting down Path to the Peak and attacking with Cramorants.
I love this. Getting a turn 1 Cramorant going second is fantastic. It does exactly half of the amount of damage as Arceus V has HP. So without an evolution here, Cramorant will get a KO. Of course, the other thing Akihiro did before passing the turn, or attacking, put the Path to the Peak in play, which means, you know, Arceus, you evolve into the V-Star, then use the V-Star power, Starburst, search for any 2 cards. Sua's got the Arceus V-Star.
Yes.
I'm not seeing a counter stadium right now.
Nope, there's only Iono, so you probably have to hope for it. There are some people, it's not very popular, but if you don't play one of these V-Max Arceus decks, there's even space for a Pumpkaboo, but in the current format, that's not something we see very often, and Su's also opting against that. So yeah, you really have to just draw into the stadium cards. Worst case, you can still just get the double turbo energy and attack with Arceus V-Star without even needing the Starbirth, and then you can still save that for later.
Yes.
But of course, yeah, having it early is much better. I really like Akihiro's play because he's aware that he will have some problems attacking with Giratina because of the energy cards in the prizes. Usually, you probably try to just get more energy more cards in general in the Lost Zone, because you can just go for a Mirage Gate and then take a one-hit knockout on an Arceus V-Star, so it's not really necessary to get damage with Cramorant in play. But because Akihiro knows, well, I use I attack with Lost Impact once, and then I don't have any energy cards left. That's a big problem. So I really like the Cramorant play here, and then even if it gets knocked out, you can still use your Comfey again, play another Chorus, and then you can use Mirage Gate. Or even, if you get a lot of energy cards in the Lost Zone as well, you can try your luck with a Star Requiem, which also saves your energy cards. And as we see, there seems to be a little bit of a confusion about the Iono, but seems like everything is sorted out. Seems like one player accidentally put 7 cards down.
But as long as you don't look at them, you're okay.
As long as you don't look at them, and as long as everyone agrees that you put your hand properly on the bottom of your deck. As we see, Akihiro drawing into a very nice hand, actually. You see, you have a Chorus and a Mirage Gate. Su also not doing too bad. There is a Arceus in
Stadium, no.
And
he plays 1 Collapse Stadium, 2 Calamitous Wasteland. So, I mean, look, on the one hand, yay, you get the KO, get a prize. On the second hand, yay, you get yourself the energy onto the Arceus. That's awesome. But there's no ability yet, and also no Aggron. Which, Aggron's big, and Aggron's beefy, and Aggron, you know, Arceus is fine as an attacker, but the Aggron VMAX, you know, it's got 330 HP. It's something your opponent is going to really struggle to get through. Not to mention Rock Slide, we can see on the screen there, 90 damage, plus 30 to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Well, Lost Zone, you know, this Giratina deck, the Lost Zone build, plays a lot of smaller Pokemon. Plus, of course, if you drop 30 damage onto Pokemon, then, you know, the Aggron V just does 300 damage to a Pokemon with any damage counters on.
Yeah.
Aggron V here can start taking out the little Pokemon, but then setting up the Giratina to be one-hit KO'd straight away, and you never have to even go into the VMAX to potentially give up free prizes if you don't want to. I want an Aggron on Sue's side of the board here.
We also saw the Box of Disaster being attacked on the benched Arceus V. Box of Disaster is especially good against Giratina VMAX. A Box of Disaster means if you're a Pokemon V and it has full HP and is knocked out, you can put 8 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon, which puts Giratina V-Star to exactly 200 Pokemon, exactly how much damage you can deal with the Arceus V-Star to take the knockout then. So it's a nice card to have because Giratina V-Star can take a one-hit knockout on Arceus V-Star, which is one of the reasons it is so popular. If you look at the meta share, maybe it wasn't the best choice in retrospect now that there is not as much Arceus here, but usually Akihiro is very happy when he sees the opponents flipping out over the Arceus V.
Yes.
As we see, like I said, you attack with Cramorant, but you still have the option to go for a Mirage Gate. Going down for a Water Energy card and a Grass. I'm interested what comes now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have the Arceus.
Are the Psychic Energy cards in hand?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, because, well, there's only one. That is it. There is now no Psychic Energy available. Do bear in mind that a Super Rod did already go and hit the Lost Zone or the discard pile. There are 2 in the deck, but this is something we do need to be keeping an eye on.
Yes, but if Akihiro is a little bit lucky, and I mean, you have 3 energy cards in your prize cards, you draw 2 prize cards, so it's incredibly unlikely to not get any Psychic Energy card from the prizes. And we as casters know that there are 2 at the very bottom, so Akihiro is now completely safe again. The only problem is, well, those energy cards are now in your hand, not in your deck. Mirage Gate only attacks from your deck, and we see Akihiro in anticipation. He knows, well, if I don't draw my Psychic Energy cards out of my prizes now, and I put them in the discard pile, I have a big problem. So only the Grass and Water Energy card were put into the Lost Zone. And this also opened up Star Requiem.
Yes, Star Requiem. As soon as you get 10 cards in the Lost Zone, Star Requiem can come in. And of course, now I'm not sure Sue is going to want to go. He does have Duraludon VMAX and Aggron VMAX in the deck with 1/1 line of each. And there is the Aggron V finally hitting the board. I don't know if you want to go Aggron VMAX, at least until Giratina's used Star Requiem. Because the idea of your opponent just being like, instant KO for free prizes, I don't like that. And I really like both of Aggron V's attacks against, a deck like this Giratina deck. So, I like doing a bit of that, taking cheeky KO, spreading a bit of damage around, and then coming in for a big KO on Giratina. I worry it's a tiny bit too late, though, because what you really want to do is Rock Slide for a KO, set up the Giratina, and then Merciless Strike to come in and take the big KO. Problem is, I don't think Giratina's going to let you have 2 attacks with the Aggron.
Exactly, especially since Akihiro, he now has 2 options. So there's the Box of Disaster attached active, but it only activates if it's knocked out by damage from an attack. Star Requiem does not deal damage, it just has an effect that knocks your opponent out. So if I'm not mistaken, the Box of Disaster should not activate if you go for a Star Requiem. Or Akihiro could just set up another Giratina V-Star, just attack with that one, and then keep the Star Requiem option open to just take a big knockout on a Pokemon VMAX later on in the game. As we see the Mirage Gate coming down, and now Akihiro has to decide which way he wants to navigate this matchup.
If I'm Akihiro, I'm worried about potentially the VMAX. 330 HP is a lot of damage. You're basically not getting a one-hit KO on that unless you use your V-Star power. So I'm very much a fan of, if you've got your one shot to take out something gigantic, but it's a one shot during the game, unless I absolutely have to, I want to save that for when I really need that big one shot. If I've got a way to get a KO with something else, I'm generally going to go away and do this. Now, all players play slightly differently. Akihiro may well decide that there is a better option, but no, we do see a manual retreat here, and it does look like we're going to go fresh Giratina and just get, Comfey. But it looks like we're going to get a KO with the fresh Giratina, take the damage counters, and just say, I'm not giving up my V-Star power until I absolutely have to.
Yeah, but the problem now is that you still need to get the energy in play. But, well, maybe.
Well, there was an Iona that came down after he drew the energy from the prizes. So Mirage Gate should be able to do it if we've got access to
exactly. You just need a Mirage Gate next turn, basically. If you just take the knockout active here, you don't really care too much. Su still has 5 prize cards. So, yeah, even if there is a knockout on the Giratina V-Star now, there is no way to take out both of them. So then you just need another Mirage Gate. I'm interested if Akihiro just wants to play the second Mirage Gate as well. But it seems like, oh, he actually just passes. It has no way to get the Comfy out of the active spot.
Oh, now this is a bit of a game changer, because now this opens up Su for a much nicer prize map of just cheeky little prize here, and then just take out the 2 Giratina, and there's your 6 prizes. I really wish the Aggron could tank a hit, because right now, Aggron KO on the Comfey, drop damage on the 2 Giratina would be amazing, but it's only got 230 HP. It's not going to take a hit from Giratina after doing that, so...
I think there's a boss's order in Su's hand, so he can just go for take knockout on the 1 Giratina.
Yes.
And then just apply pressure. I'm not 100% sure what the Aggron VMAX actually does. So and I'm not entirely sure if Akihiro...
Aggron VMAX, I don't like as much. It's 3 energy, 150, discard the top card of your opponent's deck, or 5 energy, 270, 30 to itself, but there's only 3 energy on there, so getting 2 on would be quite awkward. You generally need the Arceus. So you'd be using Cracking Stomp, which would get rid of a random card from the top of your opponent's deck, which would be all right. And the other thing is that you would, you know, have a 330 HP Pokemon. Of course, we're being reminded there about Calamitous Wasteland. Basic, non-fighting Pokemon in play, single energy, more to retreat. And the funny thing is, Su's not playing fighting Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's just there to annoy your opponent. Yeah. But against stuff like Comfey, it's well good.
It is, and also can be a little bit annoying against Mew, where they usually have to retreat.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely now a good choice to kind of slow the Comfeys down. Su now, well, yeah, there was a boss now coming down on the Giratina. And also Alakazam, Radiant Alakazam, very nice synergy.
Love Alakazam with a V.
With the Aggron V, right?
Oh, actually, no, I tell you, David, he's actually got an attached to double turbo energy, so he could use max takedown for 250 this turn if he wanted to. If he got the Aggron V max, he could do max takedown for 250. It wouldn't get a fresh Giratina. It doesn't need to get a fresh Giratina because of Radiant Alakazam, so we see the retreat here. It looks like...
Wait, shouldn't it be 3 energy? Because of the Clemacious Waste?
It's a basic Pokemon, is Clemacious Wasteland.
Okay, yeah, sure, okay.
So it looks like we are getting the KO with the Aggron. Yeah.
Very nice. So the attack is 300 damage, I think.
It's 300 damage.
Any damage counters on it, minus 20, still enough to take a one-hit knockout.
More than enough. If it would get a fresh one, 280, it's lovely. Here's the well, I couldn't get a fresh one because it needs damage on it, but you know what I mean. You get the theory. Here's what I'm thinking when I'm looking at Akihiro's board. There's no energy on that board. And what's he going to do? So you attach an energy to the Giratina, use Mirage Gate, you get all 3 energy on the Giratina in 1 turn. Yay! And then it gets KO'd because it's got like 110 HP remaining.
Yeah, Akihiro is now really being punished for not putting down, for not attacking last turn. He had the option to attack last turn. He was trying to play it like a safe way, but yeah, this is the problem with these decks like Aggron V, for example. No one tested against it. Akihiro probably wasn't even sure if like you're supposed to attack with the V or if there's even a V max, and if the V max exists, what it even does. There's a very good chance that Akihiro just has like no idea what their opponent's game plan even is. Yeah, there is a Radiant Alakazam play that he probably didn't see coming. I'm not entirely sure if he knew that there was like an actual possibility for the opponent to just take out the Giratina on the bench. And also very important, Su still hasn't used Starbirth, right?
Nope. Yeah. When I first saw Arceus, I thought there was going to be a real split of players. Those that used it early game to set up, and those that used it for that late game boss's orders, emergency energy, whatever. That's not happened. Starbirth is used turn 2 by almost every Arceus player in almost every game. Here, I'm sure Su would have done had he had the option. He didn't, but now it's kind of come back beautifully. We've got the Bibarel drawing cards. We've got the Starbirth. For the rest of this game, Su is basically going to have access to any cards he wants. And that's huge. And it looks like we're moving
now here it is, Starbirth.
It's going to be boss's
probably
orders.
the boss's order, yeah,
oh,
hopefully.
Yeah, of course. And he's going to go and get the fresh Giratina V. And I love this because Su is basically saying to Akihiro, look, I'm going to let you try and get a Giratina rolling, but it is going to be the one that's got 180 damage on it already. That is the only Giratina I'm going to let you have. So Boss will bring this up. And then we've got Merciless Strike for 300 damage. Phenomenal combination with Radiant Alakazam. And oh, and Akihiro's gone there. You know what? That's enough for me. Let's go to game 2. Chia-Hsing wins game 1. But Akihiro does have some knowledge now.
Yes.
Which he did not have back in game 1.
Yeah, I feel like game 1, it actually looked quite nice for Akihiro at that one turn where he chose not to attack. But yeah, maybe made the wrong decision just because he wasn't entirely sure what your opponent's deck is capable of, what it's designed to do. Now this information is in Akihiro's mind, and he is very aware of what your opponent can pull off here. So in Japan you don't play best of 3 a lot, usually only reserved for the top card or day 2 at big events.
Yes.
So most Japanese players are not very used to playing best of 3, but especially for the World Championship, I know that every Japanese competitor tested a lot to play in this format. 50 minutes, best of 3. So he probably knows now exactly what he has to do for game number 2. Let's hope he plays fast enough there.
Yeah, that is going to be one of the issues. You need to, make sure you play fast enough. That first game took a chunk of time, and it's awkward because you don't really know. By the time we get to the late game, it's pretty obvious what's happening is if you put a Pokemon down, Radiant Alakazam is going to move damage over to it, Aggron's going to bring it up and KO. So Akihiro is going to need to make sure he doesn't get caught in that situation again where he has no attackers. He's going to need to spread the energy around a little bit, not be, benching Giratina after multiple turns. And I think with Akihiro, that's going to be kind of the way to go. Have multiple attackers so that the second Aggron attacks, it's gone.
Yeah.
Because when I was walking past Su's table earlier, every time that Aggron was in the active, we saw that game there. It was attack with, your Arceus to get the energy, and then it was just attack with Aggron to finish out the game. I don't think that's a coincidence. I am slightly surprised Su is only playing one Aggron V, given how good it seems to be in this deck.
Yeah, I think he tried to put a lot of cards in his deck,
yes.
And then he thought about do I really want to commit on the Aggron V? There's also a 1/1 Duraludon, which we haven't seen at all. Probably doesn't really make a lot of sense in this matchup specifically because there are no special energy cards. But I think he just thinks, when he made his deck, he was probably just like, I have a little bit against everything, and my opponent has no idea what they are doing, so it should be fine. They only need one. And he only did need one, right?
Absolutely.
So it worked out.
Working out quite nicely here. We are off into game 2. Akihiro is starting off. We've got a Sableye in the active, and we are playing a Nest Ball, and we've got the traditional turn 1. Let's have a look at everything and try and figure out exactly what's prized from Akihiro here.
Yeah, Akihiro is definitely checking energy cards again. Something like last game. In the end, it didn't really matter too much because he was aware of it immediately, played accordingly, and then with the first knockout got the other energy cards back anyways. Sableye start, not exactly what you want. Of course, ideally, you always start with your comp phase. Yeah, let's hope that Akihiro has some more ways to get basic Pokemon in play, but he's shuffling his deck, which usually means that there is no Battle VIP path in hand. If you use Nest Ball for Radiant Greninja, it tells your opponent okay, yeah, my opponent only has an energy card and no other good cards in hand. As we see, Radiant Greninja's ability Concealed Cards allows you to discard a basic energy card from your hand, in any energy card from your hand, and then you are allowed to draw 2 prize cards. Let's see what those are. Oh,
they're not ideal, are they, David?
Yeah, but I think there's actually a Comfey in hand.
So we do see the Giratina hitting the bench and a second Giratina hitting the bench. This is something that I think is pretty important here. Get your Pokemon out, get your energy spread round. One of the things we saw last game was that Su managed to get Akihiro into a situation where bench a Pokemon, it's gone straight away, no mucking about, because of the lack of energy. And I think that is what really turned. When Akihiro ran out of energy last game, that was when Su just completely took hold and just ran away with the game. So I think spreading out this energy this game is going to be pretty big and just making sure you've got all those attackers. And now we see Su doing the traditional turn 1 search. Hey, Agron's there.
Yeah, the first turn didn't look too promising, just energy attack with Trinity Charge to get like a single energy on the active Arceus. At least you know your prize cards now. But maybe if your opponent doesn't do much turn 1, and like I think like 90% of the time it means, well, your opponent has a terrible hand. But there's always those 10% where your opponent just has like the most amazing hand for turn 2, and they just don't want to get rid of it with something like an Iono, for example, or Professor's Research. So it's always kind of like weird seeing your opponent just like attach, Trinity Charge, your turn. Your opponent could like completely explode next turn. But yeah, Akihiro doesn't know what kind of situation he is dealing with now.
No, we do have, and here's the thing, right? We're at this situation, a single Arceus V-Star will completely change next turn. So if I'm Akihiro, I am digging hard for Path to the Peak. But then again, what have we got? Like, concealed cards? That's all we did last turn when we were here for Akihiro. We've got Roxanne, but that can't be played. That literally can't be played until your opponent has 3 prize cards remaining. So it's going to be Lost Abyss, isn't it?
Yes, Lost Abyss. Now you're allowed to look at the top 4 cards of your deck.
Or Abyss Seeking, sorry.
Oh, sorry, yeah. It's a nice option to just have at the beginning of the game. Here we also see Comphase. There's the option for Akihiro to just put Comphase with a switching option as well in his hand. And we go to 2 cards in the Lost Zone. You need 7 to use your Mirage Gates. Let's hope he gets there really quick.
He went energy switching card, I think. He put Comphase in the Lost Zone.
Both of them?
I don't think he took. I could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
I know he took an energy card. I might have misseen that. There's one Comfey in the Lost Zone. We see Iono here. Can we take a peek? I'm not sure there was a Comfey in his hand.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. Unfortunately, we cannot see both of the Lost Zone cards, but well, we will find out later, right?
We will find out later. But like I say, the one thing is I think is important to note when watching the stream, the players have more information than we do.
Yes.
They can look through their discard pile. They know how their deck works. They can always look at their hand, which we can't. The players have better access to information than we do sitting up here on the desk. So there are some times where things are going to happen, and it's because of something we just don't know, unfortunately. Not often, but, you know, these players, they know their decks far, far better than anybody else. They have done the practice. They are looking at their hand, and, you know, they're sitting there with a game plan. Now, we do have the Arceus V-Star. We have not flipped over the V-Star marker yet, and there is no Path to the Peak in play. And so if I'm Su, it's what can you do with your hand, and then where do you go after that? And honestly, the only thing he really needs, he's got the Arceus V-Star, he's got the energy. It's really just whatever his preferred attacker is, he needs to get that on the bench.
I think right now you're just like fine with charging up the Arceus V on the bench as well. It is really unlikely for Akihiro to be able to attack because you need 7 cards in your Lost Zone. He still needs 5.
Yes.
He needs a Chorus and then 3 more. You can use, like, if you're lucky, you can use 2 Comphase, but yeah, the Giratina version usually doesn't play stuff like Lost Vacuum, for example. So if I'm Su, I will just play assuming that I will not, that my opponent will not be able to attack. As we see a Starburst, very funny, Bibarel, Bidoof, and just an Ultra Ball for the Bibarel next turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, yes, could have just gone for the Bibarel and had that in his hand, but of course Bibarel draws until you've got 5 cards in your hand.
Yes.
So what you'll see sometimes people doing is going for the Ultra Ball rather than just going for the Pokemon, because they can get that -2 cards in their hand, so they can then draw more cards with the Bibarel next turn. It's a little play, but it's one that can make a very big difference, because if you need multiple things, this is going to be a better way to go and get them.
And it also keeps your option open for next turn, right? Like maybe your opponent does something really weird where you're like, well, now I actually don't want my Bibarel, maybe I actually do want to get my aggro in play. So you can still switch up what you're actually looking for. As we see a Chorus's Experiment from Akihiro's side. Hopefully nothing too terrible. There is the Path to the Peak, which I think doesn't do anything anymore, so that's like one easy choice.
Yeah.
Just put that in the Lost Zone. And then a second card needs to go into the Lost Zone. It seems to be like a discussion
Could
going
turn
on.
off Radiant Alakazam, to be fair.
Oh,
Radiant Alakazam
yes.
did do a lot of damage last. Because I'm just looking through the list and I'm like, Duraludon VMAX probably not hitting the field. Arceus V-Star already used the ability. But Radiant Alakazam was a really big factor in getting those sneaky KOs of Aggron last game. So there is an argument to keep Path to the Peak for that. I don't know if it's a strong enough argument, but there is an argument to keep it to stop the Radiant Alakazam shenanigans. Either way, it seems like we've stopped for a second here.
There seems to be something going on. I'm trying to get updates, but we don't know exactly.
I'm sure we'll get a proper update in a minute. Someone will pass us a note and tell us what was going on. Doesn't seem to have really affected the game, though. Seems like we are just... it looks like we're just cracking on here, so I think we're okay. I think we avoided any major disasters there. And Akihiro, there is a decision to be made, of course, still mulling over that Colress's experiment. And yeah, the Path to the Peak does hit the lost zone as expected. I'm not sure Radiant Alakazam is enough. And the thing is, he wasn't playing around Aggron last game. He can this game. So here we see an escape rope, and it pretty much has to be the fresh Arceus V with free energy, which... oh no, having said that, you're probably not getting an attack off this turn anyway.
Exactly, like I said, like you have to go like completely all in and draw like perfectly to. And I think even if you draw perfectly, it's like basically impossible to get the Mirage Gate online. But if Sue puts Barrel active, then yeah, Akihiro has the option to just go into Cramorant, for example.
Yes.
As we see, just the Abyss Seeking, right?
Abyss Seeking. Yeah, Lost Abyss was the name of the Japanese set in which Giratina was introduced. Abyss Seeking is the name of the attack on Giratina.
Okay.
Never use the word Abyss outside of Pokemon nowadays, almost never. Within Pokemon, apparently it comes up all the time.
Well, I stare into the Abyss quite often, metaphorically.
So Sue here, we've got the Ultra Ball coming down, and we're assuming this is going to be for the barrel here. Yeah, we've got the, it is the, it's the Amelika artwork, which I'm absolutely in love with. I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to see coming down. There are other options, though. Radiant Alakazam could be a big one. We could go Arceus V-Star to get attacking with the active. We could go for Aggron to accelerate energy too. There are actually several cards here, and it is the Arceus V-Star. There are several cards here that could have given Sue a real big advantage. But I think at this stage, we don't usually see a third Giratina. So essentially going, you know what, I'm literally just going to put 220 on this Giratina. Now you got two Giratina with 60 damage on each. I feel pretty good about that. And one thing to bear in mind, Aggron V's first attack is 90 to the active, 30 to two of your opponent's bench, which means a little bit of playing around with Radiant Alakazam, and you can KO both those Giratina essentially in one shot, you know, next turn or the turn after. That is something to bear in mind.
And we see a very nice play from Sue here, just going Ultra Ball. Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, he could have just gone for the barrel, but now he just changed his mind because of the escape rope, something that was probably somewhere in the back of his mind, but not really something you would anticipate. Where he just knew, well, maybe I want to change. Now he has the option to, just not retreat, but just evolve the active Pokemon. Also, there's the V-Guard energy, which is very important in this matchup because it prevents the opponent's Giratina V-Star from taking a one-hit knockout. And Sue is just able to get even more damage off, and now is already playing around a little bit with the Gradient Greninja to keep, I was just about to say. That was a little bit,
that would
some
not
damage
be a fair trade.
a little bit lost. As we see, just the knockout, because you do 230 damage with the choice band.
Yeah.
And 3 energy cards, 2 Arceus V. This is already not looking very nice for Akihiro.
No, Sue here has had an excellent game, and here's the thing, like game one, it was a bit of Arceus, and then it was really Aggron doing the heavy lifting as the game wore on. In this game, Sue just seems to be navigating this really very nicely, just entirely with Arceus here. This is going really well. And of course, you know, with Giratina being a V and V-Star rather than, you know, the new Starly X's, Choice Band will absolutely come in with not reducing energy with double turbo, well, reducing damage with double turbo, I should say. So that does make Arceus very close to being able to get those one-hit KOs, and then of course all you need is a bit of fun with Radiant Alakazam, and you're over the hump. And already Sue is looking in a phenomenal position here.
Yeah, it's very difficult for Akihiro to decide what to do now, because you're not able to get enough energy, enough cards in your lost zone to use Star Abyss, Star Requiem, for example. So, well, basically impossible to take a knockout on the active Pokemon now because of that V-Guard energy card. But then if you don't take a knockout on the active Pokemon, and the only attacker that you really have is a Giratina V-Star that already has damage on it, well, your opponent just attacks, goes down to 2 prize cards, and then they have like an easy walk through the park, basically.
Yep, absolutely. So we do see Mirage Gate coming down. We've got a Psychic Energy coming onto the, I believe, bench Giratina there.
Yes.
I think we'll see, yeah. Yes, that is onto the Giratina, which obviously has a lot of damage on. And then just an energy onto Comfey to use as a pivot. But that is, I mean, once again, we're in a very similar position to where we were game 1, where I'm sitting here going, okay, cool. What is Akihiro attacking with?
What's going on with damage? Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, because
yeah, Akihiro accidentally moved the damage counter and then put on the original damage before the Alakazam, but we got everything sorted out. Here we see the chorus as experiment, now putting him up to 9 cards in the Lost Zone. Yeah, to be able to use Star Requiem, there would need to be another Comfey and a switching card. Yeah, very easy decision here with the chorus as experiment. Now Lost Zone up to, is it 8 or 9? Ah, this is very difficult.
I believe it was it not 7?
It was 7,
and then we
the
used chorus as experiment, so I believe that went up to 9. So I think we are 1 Comfey away. So I want to say that's 10 now.
What happened now? Oh yeah, that was concealed cards, right? Yeah, not flower selecting.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that was concealed cards. So we did, yes, because the Comfey is tapped in the active. It's turned a little bit. Okay, and now actually there isn't another Comfey out, so this is going to be awkward. I'm not sure he can get to 10 this turn.
Sorry.
And I think this is exactly what's happening. It looks like we're eyeing up a retreat into Cramorant. Now we see Path to the Peak.
Oh yeah, they needed a stadium card because of the Calamitous Wasteland.
Oh, Calamitous Wasteland, yes, was stopping the retreat. Thank you. So the Path to the Peak came down.
Yes.
And to be fair, this does now turn off Radiant Alakazam, which could be a little bit of a pain. So,
yes.
I mean, that's fine, but Akihiro's down 2 prizes. The only real strong attacker is very heavily damaged and just did 110 with Cramorant.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's enough.
Yeah, just getting some damage off was important. Of course, it would have been much nicer to attack with Sableye, for example, but Sableye has like a built-in like way of to make it fair, like a balancing option, because you can only use the attack if you have 10 cards or more in your Lost Zone, which is Akihiro is just like 1 card short of that. Yeah, spreading some damage with the Sableye would have been nice to just outplay the box and also the V-Guard energy, but this is not an option anymore, so only Cramorant, which by the way in Japanese is called Uu, which I find very funny.
Love that. Great Japanese
just
name.
get some damage off as we see now Su's turn. For him, this matchup is, at the moment, it's still looking very nice. If there is a boss's order, that would be amazing. Unfortunately for Su, there is already the V-Star power played, and even if it wouldn't have been, there's a Path of the Peak in play. Yeah, let's see what cards are being played now. Unfortunately, we don't know the hand cards exactly, as they're...
But just sneakily, like it was several turns ago when that escape rope came down and forced Su to use the Ultra Ball for the Arceus V-Star rather than the Bibarel.
Yeah.
And now we're still seeing the fallout from that, you know,
yes.
Not having access to stuff like boss's orders, not having any real good way to draw. That Bibarel would be really useful pretty much every turn, and he kind of had to go for the Arceus V-Star. I'm just saying that escape rope was a really nice play from Akihiro here, just putting Su in this really awkward situation of having to waste the Ultra Ball. So, yeah, not ideal.
Yeah, there seems to be a discussion going on. The judges are double-checking something. You can see they're not even in their seat, and the players are just chatting with them a little bit. There seems to be something that the judges want to double-check. We will get the update.
I'm hearing it might be due to something that happened back in game 1. So the judges have just stepped away for a minute to kind of figure out what's going on. As always, we have a great team backstage who are absolutely phenomenal people. When there is an update to be had, we will find out and we will pass it on. We'll keep you nice and up to date. We're nice like that.
Yeah, we will know exactly what happened once the judges are finishing with the discussion. Yeah, but right now we can still talk a little bit about the matchup. It's
of course
very, very difficult to maneuver for Akihiro because on the one hand, yeah, Su's deck has a lot of annoyances. There is a Box of Disaster, and there is a V-Guard energy. Both of these decks, both of these cards are kind of like outplaying the general Giratina V-Star strategy. If you play something like, for example, a Duraludon with Arceus, or you're playing Giratina V-Star with Arceus V-Star yourself, you don't really have the space because you need so many different energy cards to play, for example, a V-Guard energy, and you play so many cards that you also don't really have space for a Box of Disaster, for example. So you just have to get like through with your other attacks. In this matchup specifically, Su can use V-Guard energy to deny the one-hit knockout from Giratina V-Star, and Box of Disaster to punish the Giratina V-Star immediately after a knockout. So many things that Akihiro has to be aware of, but he is probably not exactly aware of them because, well, he doesn't really know what the opponent's deck is doing. He doesn't know the list. He has probably not tested against it at all. I didn't even know what Aggron does a few minutes ago.
I only know because Adam Hawkins, a lovely British chap, obviously, and I'm British myself, so try and keep up with all the British players out there. And Adam's a friend, he's a lovely chap, and I was chatting to him last year about Aggron, and you know, at London last year at the World Championships, I was like, Adam, talk me through Aggron, mate. Tell me what is going on with Aggron. He made a very good case, and he came so close in day one. It was kind of like his one win away, but it was a kind of a loss under weird circumstances that could very, very easily have gone the other direction in a million other matchups. So it was one of those awkward ones. Adam came incredibly close last year to making day two with Aggron. That is the only reason I've got Aggron on my radar. I will admit, I forgot what set Aggron came out in. And I had to just cheekily double check the other day. I'm like, is Aggron even legal for Worlds this year? It is. It's definitely legal. It's one of the later VMAXs we had. Obviously, you know, nowadays we're in V-Star territory and EX territory even.
Yes.
Aggron was one of those very few VMAXs that kind of snuck in. There was just like a very small number that snuck in at the end in his later Sword and Shield sets. And yeah, it's going to be legal for a while yet. And it's actually really good. But it's awkward because it's...
It needs a lot of energy. You have the potential to take big one-hit knockouts, but to deal these one-hit knockouts, your opponent already needs to have some damage. But then you're like actually taking two-hit knockouts, and there are so many other Pokemon that you can take like good two-hit knockouts with. The Gradient Alakazam is like an amazing addition to this strategy, and yeah, with Arceus V-Star, you usually have like one big attack that you just like hit. 200 damage is almost always enough to take a two-hit knockout, especially if you also factor in the choice belt. But often you can do 200 damage, then use Radiant Alakazam, put 20 damage, just move it somewhere so you can use it for later, and then attack with 200 damage again. There's 380 damage. That should be enough to take a two-hit knockout on almost everything.
It really should. Right, okay, I think I've finally figured out how I want to phrase this, David.
Oh,
right?
sure.
I think Aggron V has better attacks than Aggron V Max, which are going to be more useful most of the time. But Aggron V Max has so much HP that I want to evolve into it straight away. I love the synergy with Aggron V, where you get a little KO. 90 will KO a lot in today's format. Lots of evolving Pokemon, lots of support Pokemon, your Comfey, your Manaphy, things along those lines. But then doing 30 to each of 2 bench, so that they are then very much in range of Aggron. You know, at that point, with that 30 damage, can start KOing V Maxes, which very few can do. But it's got 230 HP, and it's usually going to be KO'd back. So you want the V Max, but I don't like the attacks as much on the V Max, and the second attack gets 5 energy. It's really expensive.
Yes.
And that's why Aggron V Max always confuses me a little bit, because I like the attacks on the V, and I like the HP on the V Max, and I think we are being shown in this matchup why the V especially, if it can survive a turn or two, is an absolute monster. And I really do think the addition to the deck of Radiant Alakazam makes such a difference to making Aggron V just phenomenal.
And also because Aggron V needs so much energy cards, you can usually attack with Trinity Nova, attach 3 energies to it, and then yeah, we saw Su in game 1 use the double turbo energy to fill the space, but you can also fill the space with a V-Guard energy, which makes it even more difficult for your opponent to take the knockout. So depending on the situation, you might even get actually 2 attacks off. I mean, Su also got 2 attacks off, but the reason for that was because he was just able to take out the opponent's hitters before your opponent was actually able to set them up, which is also one of the nice things that they can do. Yeah. But if you think, well, if I attack with my Aggron V, it's a strong attack, but if I attack with it, it will just get knocked out from my opponent, then you still have the option to just evolve. So it's very nice to include both of them. And I also probably, I think Sue actually agrees with you that the the non-VMAX has the better attacks. Yeah.
I mean, he plays the VMAX. I've not seen the VMAX come out yet. I saw him attacking multiple times with a V over on the floor a minute ago. I saw him attacking multiple times with a V in game one, you know, sitting here with you. I have not seen it really seen play kind of in any other way. I've not seen the VMAX. It's been a V party.
Yeah, right now it's all you need. And like I mentioned earlier, in this matchup specifically, you can even win by just attacking with Arceus V-Star all the time.
Yeah,
because
you can.
you have the V-Guard energy card and also a Box of Disaster. Yeah, just very powerful tools that you have against the Giratina V-Star.
I love the Aggron V, I really do. I mean, as a caster, right, the thing that really excites me is anytime something weird happens.
Yes.
So, you know, I wasn't lucky enough to cast them, but I want to say it was Worlds 2017, well, it was a One World Championship where in day one, all the Australian players rocked up with Boswell Garboda.
Ah.
And it got to the point the Australian players were winning so much with this deck. They were all ending up at like 4-0, 5-0, and then like the only losses they were taking were to each other because that deck, like that Boswell Garboda deck, was so well situated against like every big deck in day one that the Australian players, like some of them were rocking through 6-0, some of them were going like 6-1 because they lost to their mate who was also playing it. Didn't work in day two because by day two the secret was out and everyone was prepared for it. But watching from home that year, that was amazing. There was 1 year where in day one of World there was a Behemoth deck, the one that it did paralysis
I remember that.
went into your deck.
Exactly.
That one had a really great run day one, and it came onto stream and the casters, I know this feeling, were like, oh no. Wait, what does this do again? And I only knew because I'd been testing it like the week before. But I'd been testing it as like this silly joke deck just for a bit of fun online. And someone had rocked up to the World Championships and just had this great run. And, you know, as someone watching at home, as somebody casting, not so much when I'm playing against it. I love surprises. I want to see things that nobody had on their bingo card for this tournament. I want to see the Behemoth. I want to see like every Australian player rocking up with your Boswell Garboda. I want to see Aggron V and V Max. Like last year, it was a gigantic surprise that Adam Hawkins did so well with it. And I genuinely thought like, oh, that was a good Aggron moment. It's never happening again.
Well,
it's happening again.
The forces heard you. They gave you another chance with your Aggron moment and you actually got it. Yeah, there still seems to be like some discussion going on. We will keep you updated exactly what is happening. But like these kind of decks, like Aggron for example, and you also mentioned, like you get, with a weird deck, you get through day one, and then everyone knows exactly what the deck does.
Yes.
I also remember there was a Hippo down deck in like 2000, was it 2015 I think? Yeah, 2016 or 2015.
It was around that time,
Focus there, Hippo down, also very funny deck that no one really knew anything about, so just like ran through day one because everyone was like, what are these cards doing? There's a Hippo down, Focus Sash, what are you doing with this? But managed to win some cards because of that. As we see, our game here seems like it's continuing.
Does seem like it's continuing. I'm not seeing any prizes that are actually being blocked off. Remember, nowadays when a prize penalty is given, you don't take the prizes, you just have fewer prizes to take. That's usually shown by a different color of, you know, Pokeball on the prize. We're not seeing that. As soon as we get an update as to exactly what the resolution was, we will let you know. But Sue is off and rolling again here, and it looks like a pretty easy route this turn to just get a KO on this Cramorant, and, you know, go down to 3 prizes remaining, and that's just that damaged Giratina, one of those other small bench Pokemon, and we're good to go.
Yeah, another great play would have just been a Boss's Order, for example, get like more damage, make basically both of these Giratinas have like almost no HP left in general. But yeah, for that you need a Boss's Order, which Sue did not have. But we see a Judge coming down with the Bibarrel in play, so now Judge is 10 times as powerful as it is like normally when you just, some people just play like, oh, I have a turn 1, I'll just play it, and then they don't draw themselves, like they don't draw good cards themselves. If you have a Bibarrel in play, this is just a great way to a safety net that you have. Well, if I don't draw well off my own charge, I can still use my barrel to draw more cards. We see a nest ball. Maybe Ross's dream comes true and we see another great entrance of at Aggron V.
I would
but
love
it
to
seems
see.
like Sue is just going for probably my preferred road, which is just use your Arceus Vs to get like a 2-hit knockout on almost everything, and then the very last prize you can just take with the boss's order still.
Now, I have had a bit of an update. Now, players assuming for Game 2, there is a retro. So what happened is, in Game 1, there was a point where Sue drew too many cards off of an Iono.
Oh.
They are looking a retroactive double prize loss penalty may be applied for Game 1. We are looking to see, I've just kind of asked for clarification if that would do anything. Do you remember what the prize count was in Game 1, David? How close the game was?
It wasn't very close.
No, so I think that would essentially, it would go down in the record as a double prize penalty, but it wouldn't actually affect the result of the game. I have asked for confirmation about this just to be 100% clear, but we are going on. Sue is still there as, 1-0. So judges are going to have a look to figure that out, but we don't believe at this stage it would affect the outcome of Game 1. As soon as we got perfect clarity, we will let you know.
Yes.
But anyway, we're not in Game 1 anymore. We are in Game 2, and Sue is in an incredibly good position. 2 prizes, 2 KOs remaining, and then after that, that's going to be it. That's going to be the game, and there's a very damaged Giratina just kind of almost waiting there. So we do see a nest ball coming down for Akihiro here. And the question is, what basic Pokemon, are there even any basic Pokemon in the deck at this point?
And even if there would be, I don't think there is much that you really need right now.
No.
But
I think there
just
might
a
be
card
one
that you want to
Comfey.
thin out. Don't forget there was just a Judge Beam played, so
Yeah.
for Akihiro it's kind of a weird situation right now. In theory there is like 110 damage on the active Arceus V, so that's not enough for you to just use your Sableye, for example. Yeah, as we just see Nespo for a second Comfey, good choice. Can draw you more cards later. There are enough after the flower selecting we will probably see now. There will be enough cards in the lost zone to activate all of the special effects that we are dealing with. For Akihiro it's now a little bit weird because the Giratina that has all the energy cards already has a lot of damage, but we see a Mirage Gate coming down. You can attach more cards. I just hope for Akihiro that he's able to find a Giratina V-Star, because none of these Giratina on the bench are evolved. They're both the regular Giratina V. So, yeah, let's hope these flower selecting are bringing home what Akihiro needs.
Yeah, building up that Giratina on the bench is going to be a big one. You do not want that damaged Giratina to come active. Like, we all know Sue wants to KO that damaged Giratina. At least make him play a boss's orders in order to do it. What have you seen, David?
Giratina V-Star. So now definitely, that is a nice option to have. Akihiro now has to decide which cards he wants to put in the lost zone. At this point, you don't really want to add cards to the lost zone, but of course, because of course, experimenting with very dangerous things here. You have to put cards in your lost zone to pay for this very strong effect, or to draw 3 cards out of 2. As you see, Akihiro now opting to go for a non-damaged Giratina V.
Yeah, I love this.
And now, we just see a Lost Impact, putting 2 energy cards into the lost zone. This Giratina V-Star is, in theory, able to just take all prize cards by itself, use 1 Star Requiem, and then 1 more Lost Impact to draw all prize cards. Let's see how Sue reacts now.
Yeah, it should be quite simple for Akihiro at this stage to just get the prizes. And honestly, what we need here is escape rope, or we need some kind of gusting. Now, I'm having a look, because Sue's deck is obviously very tight on space, given all the stuff in there. Now, there is 1 escape rope in Sue's deck. An escape rope here would be absolutely perfect. Essentially, you need an escape rope and a boss's orders. The problem is, if you boss this turn, Akihiro could, for instance, go and... I was going to say, it could bench a fresh Giratina, but a choice about would then allow the KO. But regardless, I think if you can find that 1 escape rope, that would be perfect this turn. Just to go ahead and, take a prize off one of the bench Pokemon, doesn't really matter what, and then try and boss next turn. The issue that Sue is going to have here is that if you hit the active Giratina, then you're on a free turn clock. But here we did see the KO. There was a boss's orders.
Yes.
So now it really is as simple as, can Sue do that next turn? Akihiro's not winning this turn.
Yes.
Simple as that. Not taking 4 prizes this turn. If Akihiro, well, I mean, Akihiro should be fine. That Giratina's not getting one-hit KO'd. Like you said, you Star Requiem one turn, the other attack the other turn, boom, job's good and 4 prizes, move on with your life. Su has to get a KO next turn, and it can be on a single prize Pokemon, but we're going to need Escape Rope or Boss's Orders because there is no chance Akihiro doesn't end this turn with the undamaged Giratina V-Star in the active.
Yeah, there's a single Iono in Akihiro's hand, and I think he got it from the Chorus's experiment last turn. Unfortunately, yeah, there is Barrel in play, and if you want to take the knockout on the Barrel, you go down to 3 prize cards, so you're basically just losing another turn.
Yes, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, very painful. But for Akihiro, it's now actually kind of simple. Just take a knockout on Arceus and then hope you get another knockout as well. In this situation here, because there is a Box of Disaster, you can use Star Requiem, take the knockout there, then you have still enough energies to use 1 more attack. So it will then come down to the V-Guard energy, or Akihiro can try to outplay everything here as well, as we see the one or not. Maybe, yeah, Akihiro is still considering.
He's having to think about
the
it.
The barrel does look very threatening.
See, here's the thing, is an Iono, and what's kind of silly here is that Akihiro is going to get 4 cards off of this.
Yes.
So he's going to essentially get 5 by the time the Bibarel comes in.
Yeah, and also it might even help Su because he just played a boss and the cards that are not boss are now on the bottom of the deck, and then with Bibarel you can draw even more. So there is even you're kind of giving your opponent a better chance of drawing the boss as well. But of course Akihiro has no idea about the cards. As we see, just the Star Requiem coming down, taking a knockout. Akihiro draws 2 prize cards. And Su now just needs
there's the Boss's Orders,
and
and Su takes the match 2 games to 0. Boss
didn't
onto
even
the
need
cup
to use
fade.
Barrel.
Yeah, just got it. The 1 card Iono actually gave him the Boss's Orders he needed to win the game and the match. Congratulations to Su, who goes to a 3-0-1. And look, if he carries this on and finishes 6-0-2, going to be in top 8.
Yeah, we see Su Chia-Hsing winning this amazing game, showing to all of us and to all of the viewers at home, you can play some very weird combination of cards and still win. There is, I think, most people you had so many results, and I personally think right now we are kind of in this online era of data, right? We have so many online tournaments. When we had the season where there were no in-person tournaments, a lot of people took it to themselves to organize big online tournaments. And these online tournaments are still running, and you have a lot of people entering the tournaments, people using the data from the online tournaments to kind of calculate matchup spreads and
David,
so on.
I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry, David. I'm being rude. I'm interrupting you. There's a game 3.
Oh.
Now, I know. I don't like interrupting you. I don't want to be rude, but that was worth interrupting you for, right?
Oh, what happened?
So essentially, I'm still.
Oh, there was an emergency prize penalty.
So essentially, I think what's happened is they've gone back to game 1 and they've reassessed it. And I don't have the information. I promise you, as soon as I know stuff, I will let you know. Okay, so it's actually been escalated. It is not a double prize penalty. They have retroactively applied a game loss for game 1 for Su here. Now, one of the things you need to bear in mind about penalties is they escalate depending on the tournament. We are in round 4 of day 2 of the World Championships. So something that might not be such a serious penalty at your local league challenge, when you're in day 2 of the World Championships, basically the prize is on the line, the prestige on the line, we're crowning a world champion. We expect players not to make these mistakes, and that means that the penalties do get escalated because of the size and importance of the tournament. So what I'm hearing is that we have got a game loss that has been issued retroactively for game 1. Su still, of course, gets credit for winning game 2, but we are now heading into a game 3 with not much time remaining, and we could be heading to a tie here. I apologize. I know that for the players watching from home, this is a little bit confusing.
Yes.
However, we want to make sure we do things right, and I would much rather have a situation that we're having to explain to you on the fly than have people realize this after the fact. So, no, it's not ideal, but I think what we're doing here is the correct thing. We've got great judges here who are making the correct decisions.
It was also important to keep in mind that, I mean, the stream is going on, but the whole tournament is not about the stream. The whole tournament is about the tournament. So yeah, we're kind of like the second thought here, right? The players and the whole tournament organization and the integrity of the tournament is #1 priority, and the stream is somewhere down the line. We just have to figure out how much time there is actually left, because yeah, there were time extensions giving. We will see it. Unfortunately, it's very likely that this might end in a tie, and of course very unfortunate for, yeah, I think both of these players. It's something like these are situations that you don't really want to have, but of course, even if it was unintentional, if you gain an advantage in the game, there needs to be a penalty coming down, even if it's just to remind the player, make them be more focused in the future. Like, yeah, all the players need to know, even if it's unintentional, if they gain an advantage to the game, they will get a penalty, to be more careful counting their cards in the future.
Yeah, and we're not giving away any secrets here, of course. They have changed it on the screen. It is 1 game and 1 here. So we're not, we're not sharing any confidential information. It has been updated on the screen. We are at 1 game each. We're looking ahead into game 3. Looks like there are about 8 minutes remaining, and this is very interesting because we've not had very quick games here. Of course, the Giratina deck is one that wants to set up. It wants to get, really 7 to 10 cards in the Lost Zone, start using Mirage Gate and really start kind of getting those big attacks off. That takes a few turns. But Sue's deck, similarly, turn 1 is just Arceus Energy. Turn 2, you get the second energy, hopefully V-Star and get your first attack off. Start getting energy onto your bench Pokemon, and then really from turn 3, you start executing your strategy properly. And this is incredibly relevant because we're heading into a game 3 with not that much time remaining. So this means that we could end up in a situation where there just isn't enough time for a game 3. Neither of these decks are that speedy.
Yes.
But we are going to have the +3 turns at the end of the 8 minutes, and both players are going to know this. These are good players, these are experienced players. I would expect to see these players playing as fast as they comfortably can going into this, because they've both already got a tie.
Yeah.
1 tie, I think you said it yourself, David, 1 tie in Day 2 of Worlds, that's fine. But if you keep tying, that becomes a gigantic problem, because 1 match point is better than 0. It's a lot worse than 3.
Yeah, and also if you have 2 ties, it's something you can live with. I think if you have 3 ties, it's almost, I think you're pretty much out of the competition. Of course, it depends on so many factors, and you can only definitively say once you're close to the end rounds. But if you go, that would be 5-0-3, right? That's probably not enough to make top 8.
Well, 5-0-3 is the equivalent of 6-2, and we don't expect 6-2s to make it. Realistically, 6-1-1, 6 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. Usually, I have not sat and done the maths, I'm going to be honest with you. Usually for a tournament like this, 6-1-1 is the aim.
Exactly.
That is what people are going for. 6-0-2 you should be in. Obviously 7 wins, whether it's 8 wins or 7 wins and a tie or 7 wins and a loss. If you hit 7 wins, you're in.
Yeah.
6-1-1 is going to be the aim for most people. 6 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. Anything below that, I really think at that stage, when you hit 2 losses, you're probably out of contention for top 8 unless something incredibly strange happens. But there's still lots of championship points. There's still lots of prizes on the line. So, top 16 is great. Top 64 is great. Top 32 is great. So, even these players, there comes a point where you're out of contention for top 8. But I assure you there are going to be many players who finish top 16, top 32, who are absolutely delighted. Nice prizes and a real good head start on qualification for next year's World Championships.
Yeah, top 32 of the World Championship is already a great achievement and something I think every player wants to have on their profile page, or where they can basically brag about it. Like, I was top 32, made it through day 1, got such a high standing in the World Championship. Because especially at the World Championship, every opponent is one of the best players. If you do like day 2 at an international championship, you play against all kind of players. Some players that have a lot of experience, some players that don't have a lot of experience. It's like a different tournament system, right? But here at the World Championship, every player needed a qualification, so you're only playing against the best.
Yeah, this is one of those situations. There are 2 ways to get into day 2 of the World Championships, and that is you either be one of the very top players in your region over the course of an entire season, or you get through with a record of at least 6-2 in day one of Worlds. They're the only two ways to get in. There's, you know, there is nobody here that's kind of snuck their way in, or, you know, there might be some players in day one who had a really good day and made a really good metagame call after qualifying for the World Championships, and that is a very, very different thing entirely. Even qualifying for Worlds is not that easy. You have to have consistent results throughout the season. I know a number of incredibly good Worlds players who were here this weekend who tied up their Worlds invite in the past few weeks. There were friends of mine who, you know, were running to cups and challenges, you know, in the last weekend. I had a friend who I won't name, who needed like one more League Cup finish to get their qualification, drove 3 hours for a League Cup, found out it was in fact a pre-release tournament.
Oh no.
Didn't even draw well out of the pre-release.
Yeah, we have one single correction. The timer was at 8 minutes, but they did not account for the time extension that we had mid-game. If you remember, there was some time in the middle of the game where the judges were just double-checking everything. So we have now 15 minutes at least, which is
this is very
enough
different
for full game. So
yes,
now both of these players can just play to their best, try to win, and maybe Akihiro he got a very lucky chance that you don't get all the time to play third game, and now he knows exactly what Zeus is doing. So
the game that he didn't know what Sue's deck did is the game that he essentially, you know, got the win in.
Yeah.
So now he's actually going into game 3 with all this information, and now finally we get back into the game. We're into game 3, and it seems like we got a Radiant Greninja and a concealed cards.
Yes.
But you see already, Akihiro is playing fast in this game. Nobody wants to tie, you know, especially this early on in the World Championships. So a quick deck check, a quick battle VIP pass, and then just making sure that, you know, we're going to see this as we go through. These players are not going to want to tie, so we're going to see, I believe, a faster pace of play, and, you know, Akihiro's already started off in that manner.
Yeah, starting your turn with concealed cards and the battle VIP pass is, I think, every player, even basically every deck wants it. Not everyone plays the Radiant Greninja, but now Akihiro has the option to, yeah, just check what cards are in the prizes, get to comp phase out. If there is a switching option, that would be even better. That's, yeah, Akihiro is definitely, he already knows because it's our hand, right? But we just have to hope that there is a switching option in Akihiro's hand, as he's just double checking which cards are in his prizes. We already know, but yeah, he is just double checking everything. First the energy, now the Mirage Gates, stuff like Super Rod, for example, which is super important in the Lost Zone decks in general, because you are you need to choose between cards that you're just never seeing again. I mean, you're seeing them, they are sitting right in front of you, but you're not allowed to actually use them because they are in the Lost Zone.
Yeah, and that is super awkward. You know, if you get rid of a Super Rod early game, and then it turns out later on in the game you just need to recover 1 energy, but there's no Super Rod to do it, that is always a bad feeling. So it seems like we've got 2 Comfey here off the Battle VIP pass. We've got a Giratina in the active. We've got a Radiant Greninja on the bench. This is a pretty good start from Akihiro.
Yeah, and there is even a Jet Energy in Akihiro's hand.
Oh,
so yeah,
nice.
he can go Jet Energy, flower selecting, retreat, flower selecting again. Jet Energy is so good in this deck. You hear it, yeah, you see it all the time. We saw it on stream a few times already. Yeah, Akihiro, this time we see a Psychic Energy card hitting the Lost Zone, as we see a retreat for the second flower selecting, also a Nest Ball coming down just to thin out the deck, rescue that Giratina V in order to not hit it with the flower selecting. You really want to thin out your deck from good cards before you use flower selecting as much as you can.
Yes.
Because you don't want to be in the situations where you have the option between a bad choice and a worse choice, right? So let's see if Akihiro has presented a good choice now. Battle VIP. That's the best one. The best card you can hit.
Yeah, if you get a literally unplayable card off of your flower selecting, that's always a good situation. We do see the early path to the peak coming down here, just forcing Sue to have some kind of answer to it if he wants to use the V-Star power. Yes. And I actually really like this, because Akihiro's kind of saying, look, if you don't set up quite quickly, I can win a quick game here. And, you know, this is a game that Akihiro thought he'd already lost. He thought he had lost this matchup. So to be able to come back and actually, you know, clutch a win out of this will be absolutely huge. So we do see an Ultra Ball coming down from Su here. Presumably this is going to be for our first Arceus.
Yes, Su is also, his start doesn't look as amazing as it did last game, and also just like mentally it's pretty draining, especially have like situations with the judge and a penalty. Makes a lot of players very frustrated, especially inexperienced players often let that cloud their judgment as well. I don't know much about Su, so maybe it's one of these players that are not very faced by these kind of like smaller mental states, but this is also a big part of the game, especially if you're playing the physical cards. You have your mind state, how well you can concentrate, how easy you're distracted by outside factors. It's very loud in the hall, especially on stream. You have the white noise, so they can actually hear us, right?
That would be bad if they could hear us.
This is also something a lot of players have some problems with. So let's see. It's not just who can play the best, and also which player can concentrate the best.
Yeah, that is what we are coming down to here. The mental element is a big part of the game. Now it looks like, you know, Su's turn was fairly uninspiring. Did get the Arceus with a V-Guard energy, but that was it. And now we've got a Corvus's Experiment coming down.
This is a nice Corvus Experiment. Easy choices for Akihiro throughout the whole series. Now there is a possibility to just use a very easy flower selecting. You'll get 2 cards, or another easy choice, but this is like one of those, you have 2 bad choices, but the other bad choice is worse than the other, so you know exactly what you need to do.
You can be pretty quick about it.
Yeah, there's still a switch option. Akihiro has the option to go like very aggressive, just attach an energy card and attack with Abyss Seeking to put more cards into the lost zone. He's tanking a little bit, as a lot of people call it, where you like try to think about it as much as you can. And we just see very simply another very easy flower selecting. And this game is looking much better than the other 2.
Yeah, Akihiro is in a great start here. And if I'm Akihiro, I am going as fast. Oh, now this I adore.
Nice.
We've got the escape road bringing up the Arceus V into the active. Cramorant can then do 110, which, as mentioned, means that that is exactly half. And this gives Su... Well, he just top decked the Arceus V Star, and he had Collapse Stadium in play. What a top deck!
Very close for Su. If that would have been any other card, the game would have been basically over.
Oh yeah, we could have seen a finish in a couple of turns. Su's hand was not good enough. He had a counter stadium and basically nothing else. Needed the Arceus V Star. This turn, top decks it. And oh my goodness, that is a huge, huge win for Su there. Now we can get the Arceus out. Collapse Stadium is down. Now you can use your Star Birth, your V-Star power to go and search for any 2 cards in your deck. And Su's got a very good chance. He did not seem to have a very good chance right before that top deck came down.
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't see which 2 cards. One is definitely double turbo energy. I'm pretty sure about that, because if you don't draw the double turbo energy now, the game is basically over. And then most players in this situation would probably just choose another supporter card, right? Because
it's double turbo, and yeah, it is Professor's Research.
Yes. So yeah, you need more cards. In theory, you could like put a Pokemon down on your bench that you really want to take the energy cards to, but then you have no way to draw more cards. And once your like hand kind of like ran dry, you can't do anything anymore. Let's just hope for Su that there is a way to get another Pokemon in his hand, as he drew into the Bidoof, and Arceus V, exactly what he needed. And there's still there's a Box of Disaster, which he's probably thinking about attaching. And if he wants to attach it, the question is where. So still some more choices open for Su, but I think we will just see a Trinity Nova attack and attach 3 energy cards to the benched Arceus V.
This is a very, very different turn than we would have seen had we not had the top deck of the Arceus. Yes. Now Su is going to get a prize off of that Cramorant. We're going to get free energy down onto the Arceus. And Akihiro here, there is actually a pretty... If he can get the V-Star and a Mirage Gate, then we could still see a big KO this turn. As essentially, all you really need to be attacking with the Giratina is Mirage Gate and Arceus V-Star, and you do have at least 1 flower selecting to try and pull it off. And I suppose you would need an energy to attach from your hand as well. But it could absolutely happen, and Su's board is not really prepared to try and take down that Giratina V-Star. So that is what I'm really looking at here. I'm looking at, can we see the KO of Akihiro? Can we get that Giratina V-Star rolling? If we can, there's the V-Star. There's an energy from hand. Does he have Mirage Gate? He doesn't, but he has at least an Iona.
Yes. And then also the question, do you attach the energy now or later? I mean, if you play Iron, it gets to the bottom of the deck and there's another Psychic Energy, so you will definitely have a Psychic Energy in your deck. The question is then only about the Grass Energy card.
Yeah, it is always awkward though. Like if you play the Iono here, if you draw the Mirage Gate, but you don't draw an energy to attach for turn, I've made that mistake. It might not even be a mistake. You're playing the percentages, but if you hit that and you don't hit the energy, then. So I think we've got a more conservative play, and we did see the Mirage Gate and an energy being drawn there.
Yeah, and of course you still need the flower selecting to actually being able to use the Mirage Gate. And as long as there is a Grass Energy card left, which it is, Akihiro will be able to attack with the Giratina V.
And we've already got the Jet Energy on the come phase, so the retreating is not going to be an option here at all. This is wonderful. This is everything that Akihiro wanted. He's got that combo off, which now allows him to attack with the Giratina V-Star, take out the Arceus, and the awkward thing is, Su is not really in a position to one-hit KO the Arceus, but next turn the Arceus can just be like, boom, Star Requiem. So Su is basically going to have to use the Arceus on the bench, try and V-Star it, set up another attacker, while admitting that you're going down to 4 prize, opponents going down to 2 prizes remaining. That is not a phenomenal situation to be in.
Yeah, and we'll probably just see a Trinity Nova, and then it's very important for Su to choose like which Pokemon he wants to attack next. There is I think there was a V-Guard energy attached, but because of the Cramorant that was basically, negated.
Yes, it was.
The new Arceus V has no special energy attached to it, so you're just 200 damage. As long as you can find the Giratina, the Arceus V-Star. I think there's an Ultra Ball, so I really have to think about, well, do I go into by barrel and try just to draw a bunch of cards, or try to play it safe and just go for the Arceus?
Because there's a Nest Ball in his hand, I would be tempted to go the Arceus V-Star, use Nest Ball for whatever attacker you want. Bibarel, however, great option, because you can essentially go from there. The problem is, I think it's only a Nest Ball in hand, so if you whiff this, you have to basically choose between damage or accelerating energy. You don't get to do both, unless I've missed something. Yeah, so we do have a Nest Ball here. Presumably this is going to grab whatever attacker it is that Su wants to be moving into.
Yeah, let's see. Probably, is it a Bidoof?
Oh, it's another Bidoof.
That's interesting. I would have expected something like a Aggron V or even the Duraludon, because the Bidoof doesn't really do much here. I think it even just opens a possibility for Akihiro to do some shady stuff with Lost Mine in the future, in theory. But of course, if you can use 2 per barrel, right? In theory.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is just an option to have, and we will have to see which cards will be drawn here. 4 more cards. We've seen Iono and a Process Order. No Arceus V yet.
No, as an Aggron V Max, that's the only Pokemon that actually came out of the deck then, and that's no good without an Aggron V on the field already, unfortunately. So, yeah. We do see a switch into Bidoof.
Oh, well, maybe, Su just puts this down, if it gets knocked out, it puts Akihiro on uneven prizes.
Okay, we do have an Iono, so he could have played an Escape Rope beforehand. He could have gone for an Escape Rope before playing the Iono. There is one in hand to get the Arceus back in the active, but that would have also made Akihiro change active, so...
and no Arceus from the Iono, so the switch was actually a pretty good play.
Yeah.
The problem now is just Akihiro can take the knockout on Bidoof, and then Sableye Lost Mine becomes a completely different story, because Bidoof has the barrel has 120 HP, and with Lost Mine you can just take a knockout on the bench.
Yes,
so for Akihiro it becomes a completely different situation now. Being able, now is the situation where you really need your Cramorant, right? Akihiro only plays, I think, a single one, yes.
Yeah, single Cramorant.
Which is in the discard pile, but with Lost decks you play usually 2 Super Rods, and then you can just use Nest Ball to get the Cramorant active. As we see Su...
Oh, just attach to the Aggron and pass. And here's the thing, we've only got 5 minutes left. We don't necessarily have the luxury of time here. Now, both players are getting, pretty well set up. We might see back and forth KOs very quickly. But we could run into the situation here. Remember, if neither player is able to finish this game, we are going to end up in a tie.
Yeah, but I think if Akihiro now has a boss's order, he could basically seal out the game, just get the Arceus active.
Absolutely.
And then use Star Requiem, take knockouts, don't take damage, and then there's literally nothing you can do because there are no energy cards in play. There is no way to accelerate energy cards other than Trinity Nova. So Akihiro's now really just hoping to get the boss's orders right.
Yeah, I think that is the one card that Akihiro is going to be wanting here. You boss up the Arceus, you get the KO, and then that's basically, well, that is the game sewn up at that point. We do have some Comfey available if we've got any switching up. Oh, there's the boss's orders onto the Arceus. That is going to be a huge play. So
unfortunately, there is no Star Requiem because there was one card too few in the Lost Zone.
Oh,
as we see the Box of Disaster activating, but this damage is also completely irrelevant in my opinion because
there's nothing to attack with.
There's only aggro, right? But at maximum they use 70. Well, with the choice, it could deal 100 exactly. Yeah, it could deal 100 damage in theory. Not enough to take a knockout on Giratina V-Star.
No, you'd be 100 off. You need to do 200. If were you hitting for weakness, yeah, but Giratina actually has no weakness. Dragon Pokemon at the moment in TCG, they have no weakness, so it's very awkward. You can attach to the Aggron and then go and get yourself a KO. Oh, sorry, not a KO, do some damage. I don't think he even has a switching option. I don't think there's even a pivot. Now, we do see a
second Bidoof.
Ultra Ball coming down here. Well, yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be a second Bibao.
Oh, yeah, or Argren VMAX, just to have like more HP to stall it out. But even if we stall it out, all Akihiro needs is one.
Second Bibao's priced.
Oh, well, fair enough. Not even the desperation plays possible here. And then Akihiro just needs a Grass Energy card to win the game. So, yeah, looking very dire for Su here.
Yeah, and the thing is, with that second Grass Energy, there's no mucking about. It is just instant KO on whatever's in front of you. So, we do get the Aggron VMAX out of the deck. I mean, you could do 150. It still wouldn't be enough. You'd still be 50 away.
Yes. But Su at least gets one turn because, well, I mean, Akihiro would need a Grass Energy card and a boss's order, which is very unlikely for him to have. So Su thinks, well, I can like sacrifice the active Barbara, and then maybe I can do some shenanigans with Aggron. As we see, Su just going for the Industrious Incisors. Draw 3 cards. Nothing too crazy here. And seems like there's nothing else left. You can just end your turn, and then it goes back to Akihiro. And I'm very curious how Akihiro's hand looks like.
Yeah, no, we're not quite done yet. We got Nespal coming down from Su here. This is just looking at your deck. But not even there was a Spiritomb that could have been grabbed there, chose not to. So not even really thinning the deck there. Just having a little bit of a look, checking the options, making sure what's available. But it seems like it's going to be a pass. I don't think he can attach another. I think he's already attached his turn.
Yeah, he attached the V guard.
That's what I thought. He can't even attach an attack. So you just pass it over, and just a straight pass. But you saw how quick that was. The timer is running down. Akihiro wins of a Grass Energy. The faster he passes, the more turns he's got. It's not a Grass Energy. Is he going to pass straight away?
Psychic Energy.
Psychic. Does he have a supporter of any kind?
There's no way to draw cards. He's really considering like how to use the Comfey now. Oh, this is going down to the wire.
This is really coming down to the wire here. Akihiro absolutely ahead, but needs a Grass Energy in order to get the win. There are 3 in the deck. There's 2 in the Lost Zone. So there's 1 in the deck in total. There's only 1 available. There's 3 in the list, 2 in the Lost Zone. And this is the kind of thing we talk about all the time. If those 2 weren't in the Lost Zone, they'd be way easier to draw into one. But there were other cards that had to be picked instead. So now Akihiro is having to navigate around this. Probably didn't think there would be a mad scrabble for that single last Grass Energy late in the game. But unfortunately, that is where we've come down to here.
This is going down to the wire. Akihiro like reading the Aggron VMAX again. With the Super Art also being used.
There's no Grass Energy going back in.
Oh, was there no... okay, fair enough.
Oh, maybe maybe the last one was in the discard.
That's probably in the deck still, right?
You would imagine so, but we see a pass again, and it looks like we're about to run out of time. We'll get confirmation exactly when time is called and who is turn 0 here.
Oh, this is actually important how long this flip now takes. Oh no, oh no. Yeah, so time has been called now.
Yep, so I've just had a message. Time is out, so that would make Su turn 0. So Su will have this turn and one more. Akihiro will have 2 turns, and that is it.
Yeah, so one more flower selecting. We really need the Mirage Gate. Jet Energy, another flower selecting Mirage Gate. This is all Akihiro really wants. Well, Chorus is also fine because, yeah, there is still one more turn for Akihiro as we see another not Mirage Gate draw. This is really going down to the wire.
We just need, and the energy's no good anymore. We had to discard an energy, so it's a completely fresh Giratina. We do need Mirage Gate to get both the Psychic and the Grass energy here. So this is going to be, yeah. And that, I think, is why we use the Super Rod there to make sure there was Psychic energy back in the deck. We see another pass, so Akihiro will have exactly one last turn to try and make this happen. Su at this point cannot win the game. Su is playing for a tie at the most. There is no chance that Su wins this game. Essentially, there's not even really anything Su can do. You just kind of have to hope your opponent doesn't KO Aggron.
Here we see the judge, very important judge now. Yeah, Su can just, yeah, retreating would be very crazy to call it that, because right now Akihiro meets Mirage Gate and Boss's Orders, and there's no way for Su to win this game. So Su just needs to play the possibility perfectly. Yeah, get your chances the best, and right now the best chance is just do nothing, I think, after the judge.
Yeah, judge to put your opponent down to a lower hand, but after that you can't really attack, you can't really do anything with your Pokemon on the
which
field.
Cards Akihiro drew.
Oh.
We see switching cards. This gives one more flower selecting.
Flower selecting.
Here we have
Mirage we've got Mirage Gate.
No,
that's going to get the energy.
No, you still need the Boss's Order.
I thought I saw Boss's Orders in hand. I might be going silly here, David.
Let's see.
Come on,
oh,
show
I think there was one. There
show
we have
your
it.
hand. Oh,
it's
no, it
not there
Chorus.
yet. It's not there yet. We need shuffle. But there is a switching card, so you can retreat into another comfort. You get one last flower selecting. This is going down to the wire. There is a single card Akihiro needs. He is allowed to look at 2 cards. Basically now we are shuffling, looking at 2 cards. If one of those cards is the last Boss's Orders, Akihiro wins this set. If not, this is a tie. A very important turn here.
So we
Let's see the retreat.
Into
Let's see the flower selecting. Show us the cards.
And it is, oh, you slam it if you see it. If you see it, you slam it. It's Path to the Peak and Sableye. I don't think there's any other options here. So I believe that means we are going to end in a tie.
Yeah, Star Requiem,
on
just
the
to draw a single prize cards.
It's
and
not enough.
A tie, we see the handshake.
There's the handshake. We are in a tie. So Su, Chia-Hsing and Akihiro Urata do end this very eventful round 4 game in a tie. And we wanted that big moment at the end, David.
Yeah.
We wanted that Boss's Orders to slam down.
Exactly.
Give us a moment of excitement for the stream, but it was not to be. We saw some very interesting play. We saw some cards we never generally tend to see on the stream. And then in the end, we see our game ending in a tie. So, we've had the whole game now. Should more people be playing Aggron?
That's a very good question. I wasn't even aware of the cards. That usually either means that it's like completely by accident, just a very unknown card, or that it's not very good. I think I'm looking forward to see how Su does at the rest of the tournament. If he still wins all of the remaining matches,